Do you think Kundalini awakening is available for everyone or just a few?
Well, it depends. It really depends. So, I mean, it seems to be an organic process that starts to happen as you go through a spiritual awakening. You awaken through your perceptions. So how you perceive the world starts to change, right? You start to see yourself as, oh, I am one with everything, and I am awareness. I'm not my mind, I'm not my ego, I'm not my emotions, I am pure awareness. So that starts to change in the individual. But in order for the nervous system to hold them greater states of awakening, it needs to be rewired, right? So what happens is this life force that is in all of us, right? It's in all of us. It's a dormant at the base of the spine. It starts to awaken, and it starts to rise up through the chakras. And while it's rising, it's purifying, it's clearing blockages, it's working on traumas, and eventually it gets up into the brain and it brings the body into the experience of the enlightenment. So you're not only experiencing new perceptions, but your body is now feeling these states of bliss, love, connection. It's like this warm, fuzzy, Shakti feeling. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Is it for everybody? I mean, I don't think everybody's nervous system is ready for Kundalini awakening. It's just something that gradually happens.
It's interesting to listen to all the phases you went through because I would assume like there was a peak where actually God saw through your eyes, but that wasn't like after that the Kundalini awakening came,
Yeah.
which I find interesting. Yeah.
So what I understand is that it gave me a huge peak experience. So I got a taste of the very end game from the get-go. God looked out through my eyes, and from that moment on, I was like, I know what I am, right? Even though the experience didn't stay, I was like, I am God, dreaming myself into everybody, right? It was just, and it's not an egotistical thing, right? It's not like you're going around thinking you're God, but it's just like that every single human on the planet is God, right? You understand that. Nobody's better, nobody's lower. We're all God. Um, so I had that experience. And what happened was I then started my spiritual journey. So I then had to go through all of these different stages myself to eventually get to these higher states.
Yeah, that's interesting. As Gareth again, like back to the
Yeah, yeah,
personality. Yeah.
yeah,
So
totally.
where did that pre-birth memory come into the picture?
Okay, so I went through a couple of different later stages. There was another experience where I was meditating, and all of a sudden I saw this coffee mug in front of me, and I straight away I knew that the coffee mug was housing my consciousness. It was a metaphor, right? The metaphor was the container that was housing me, and behind the coffee mug was prison bars. And I was like, prison bars. And I was like, oh, I'm imprisoned. And all of a sudden I saw the coffee mug tapping against the prison bars, and on the third tap, the coffee mug shattered, and there was this explosion of white light inside my mind. And it went out in all directions, and it blinded me, completely blind in meditation. And then all of a sudden, it imploded back in, and everything went really, really, really quiet. Everything got really still. And I was like, oh my God, what was that? That was incredible. And I sat there for like 2 hours in that piece. And then when I came out of it, I was like, something feels different. Didn't really know, but it felt like the edges of me were gone. And my consciousness was now expanded out into this panoramic. So I felt like I was one with everything, right? Now, not I am in everything and I'm not in their minds, but I just feel like I'm somehow connected to everything just through my form, right? Or everything is contained within me. So that was what happened next. So then all of a sudden I started waking up in lucid dreams, and I was experiencing past lives. So I had these three very, very kind of peak experiences, really, really in like I was there. I could walk around, I could pick things up, I could open drawers, I could walk upstairs, look at photos. And I had these three really profound. One of them, I was a devotee of a very, very famous guru in India, two of them. And I lived in this ashram. And they told me that when I'm leaving this life in the ashram, I'm going to go to the west to bring in this energy that they had brought in. So again, I woke up from this experience sobbing, felt like I had lost something. These were loved ones. I was shown another previous experience and another previous experience, and I had awakened spiritually in all three of these experiences, right? These previous lives. I had had spiritual awakenings, and I had gotten in the previous life. I had gotten this kind of very high state of awakening. So about a month later, I'm not exactly sure about the time. About a month later, I woke up in another lucid dream, and this time I wasn't human. I wasn't in a human reality. I was in this blue space, this sort of, it looked kind of like an oil painting. Everything was different shades of blue, dark blues. There was structures, but very, I don't know, two-dimensional, kind of, they just looked like shapes, and there was beings there, and the beings looked like little small triangles, kind of two-dimensional, little small heads, and they glided along, and I was one of them. And I communicated with them, and they explained to me that where I was this was where you go when you're not in a human body. This is like this place that you have family, you have friends, you get to hang out, you get to pick new life experiences. And I was like, wow. And they told me lots of stuff, right? And when I say there wasn't like lots of them. It seemed like there was only like a few. It wasn't densely populated like it is here. And they told me lots of different things, right? They told me that not all humans went here. And this was like this intermediate place where souls would go. Yeah, and they could choose to come back in and help humanity. So they also explained the whole concept of time there versus time here. And they explained to me that 80 something years in human life form is only 20 minutes there. And they said, well, that's why it's so easy for you to choose to come in for another life, because it's only 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, so yeah, so we're gonna show you how you do it. They brought me over to, and again, right, I'm using the term virtual reality because it's easy for people to understand, but it wasn't, right? But it kind of felt like, I put my face up against this VR headset, and then all of a sudden, boom, I have this memory of coming back down the like this light tunnel. And just as I'm coming down the light tunnel, I'm like, oh, I've fallen for it again. So I totally signed up for it, right? Because on the other side, it was like, it's only 20 minutes, right? I just put my face up against this. It's a 20-minute experience. But as I was coming back in, I was like, I have to go through learning how to walk and talk and be a teenager again. I kind of felt like I had been, yeah, yeah, coerced into it. So yeah, that
What,
had happened. Then yeah, go ahead.
was that the memory of becoming you, Gareth, today that you saw in that
Yeah,
experience?
yeah.
Okay.
Or yeah, I'm not entirely sure. So a couple of nights later, again, I popped back into that reality again, and I got to talk. And why this was different than just like a dream or something, right? Was because when I was in the previous life experiences, I came out of them, and there was an emotional thread. I would literally come out and I would be sobbing my eyes out. There was like this, something had ripped my heart out. I had people in them lives that I had loved, and I was no longer in them. And this was the same with this pre-birth experience. My family are there, my loved ones are there, and yeah, it was the same. They were all connected somehow.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.